Welcome to another in a series of interviews with Libertarian candidates running in Wake County. I'm Brian Irving, the press secretary for the Wake Libertarian Party. Today we're talking to Adrian Travers, the Libertarian candidate for North Carolina House of Representatives, District 11. Adrian was born in Hampton, Virginia, but raised in the Olympic Peninsula, on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. He moved to Raleigh in 2010. His career paths have taken him to both blue and white-collar jobs, including a stint in the United States Army. He was a floor installer in Oklahoma, worked in the casino industry in Washington State, and eventually became a pit boss and a supervisor. After he moved to Raleigh, he worked in retail sales. He managed at the same time 2 casino party companies in the area. And when these companies closed, Adrian followed his passion for local breweries and distilleries by becoming the lead alchemist and bar manager at the 4 Points by Sheridan of North Raleigh on Capitol Boulevard. And as you can tell from his background, Adrian is also a Hurricanes fan, a Caniac. Welcome, Adrian, and thanks for doing the interview. So we'll start with the usual question that candidates are asked. Why are you running for office, and what do you hope to bring to the North Carolina General Assembly?
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Myself, I've always had this sense that I was going to be involved in politics later on in my life. Once when I hit my mid to late 20s, after 9/11, there was this sense about me that politics would eventually tap me on the shoulder. This was nothing that I wanted to pursue on my own. I am a born-again, spirit-filled Christian, and I really wanted to wait on God's timing for that. And in December, I ended up getting that tap. Of all people, I actually got tapped on the shoulder by the GOP. That was rather funny. I broke away from the Republican Party back in 2016 with the election, the primary election. What they did was nothing that I could be a part of. And they asked me to run, which I unfortunately could not. However, they asked me if I was willing to run for the Libertarian Party, and they reached out to Wake County's Libertarian chair to contact me, would I be willing to run? And I said, well, if you really want to contact another political party to have me run for them, sure, go right ahead. And sure enough, the very next day, I ended up getting the phone call. I saw that as just a sign from God saying, you know what, this is your time, Adrian. Go ahead and throw your hat into the ring.
Great. So on your website, you have 3 of your primary issues. They are great education opportunities, alcohol and beverage choice, and housing affordability. So we'll start with what I know is your passion, the issue dealing with the alcohol and beverage choice. What's your take on that?
This is a wonderful state. As you mentioned, I do come from the Pacific Northwest, and I am quite familiar with different beers and liquors that come from the area. But this area blew me away with the quality of products that actually come out. And Washington State did make the adjustment a little over 10 years ago to become a non-government controlled liquor state. So they privatized it, and they had the ability to be able to purchase liquor in your Safeway stores, which would be similar to what you guys have here for Kroger. And private businesses have the ability to sell what products that they prefer. This is something that is seriously lacking in our state. Government control picks winners and losers of liquor distilleries, and who gets to advertise for what, for various reasons, which can be sometimes even nonsensical. I do not believe that we as consumers need to be told by the government in what area you are in, that you can only buy these products here, and these are the only ones that you're allowed to know about. It is absolutely ridiculous, and quite honestly, it is an archaic practice for the government to control the liquor, the sales of liquor, and this should be done by private businesses. This is a wonderful entrepreneurial angle that could really benefit the citizens, not just the consumer, but the entrepreneurs who own businesses as well.
Good, very good. Thank you for that. The other issues, let's start with greater educational opportunities.
Absolutely. Myself, I have 3 children. One's already grown, and he's doing his thing, God bless. But I do have 2 younger children. I have a daughter that's going to be turning 7 in October, and my youngest son turned 8 in May. And because of the public school system, it's very difficult to be able to find a school that I would prefer to have them attend. And with having school choice, parents should be able to say, I know my child. I know what school would be best for them to learn. Their teaching methodology is solid. This is something that my child's brain will gravitate towards to be able to learn better. And without the ability to choose the schools that you want, it really stymies the ability for that child to learn. So I do believe that school choice is a very big thing. Our tax dollars should be able to fit into their backpack to go to the school that we, the parents, choose for them to attend.
Great. So again, choice in education, choice in alcohol and beverage control, or in beverage choice. Your last issue, you talk about housing affordability. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. Well, the big thing is to understand that housing affordability is not affordable housing. Affordable housing is HUD run. It is government housing using subsidized taxpayer dollar to be able to create low-income homes. This is not what we're talking about when it comes to housing affordability. What we're talking about doing is looking at the zoning laws, restructuring them to where each citizen who has their property will be able to do with their property as they see fit, giving opportunities to be able to create granny flats in their homes to where they could be able to either rent out to tenants to be able to raise for extra income, also to be able to utilize their property for certain types of business. Zoning laws have established to where it makes it next to impossible to be able to do such things. By being able to break down some of these zoning laws and loosening these restrictions, we would have the ability to be able to bring in a more affordable housing price and lowering the taxes in order to be able to make it more affordable for folks to be able to move into the neighborhood, and thus giving better quality diversification.
Great. So these clearly are at least one of them is an issue that's of particular, you have particular passion about, but all 3 of them, you believe there's a broad appeal among your constituents. But are there any other issues that you would like to address?
Well, one of them does happen to go hand in hand with the concept of abolishing the ABC system. We're talking about businesses being able to make the choice of products to sell. This is something that would give entrepreneurs, those that are looking to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and own their own businesses, to give them more freedom to be able to sell products as that they see fit. We're not just talking about liquor or beer here in this situation. There are many different products that can be sold to the public, but for various restrictions that have been created through excessive bureaucracy in our state, it makes it incredibly difficult for those to get ahead. You have companies that have been supplying lobbyists with money to give to the companies in order to be able to promote their ideas. Thus, you're looking at situations of government, once again, going in, picking winners and losers by having certain laws, certain regulations that favor certain businesses, and making it more difficult for those folks who have maybe great ideas in entrepreneurial ideas to be able to change the market up for us to grow. Yet these restrictions through excessive government regulation make it difficult for those businesses to start up yet flourish. So by focusing in on targeting excessive government regulations, just simply going through the list of the bureaucracy of different regulations, going through and saying really what is necessary, what is not necessary. This is an important thing. We need to be able to audit these bureaucracies and say, okay, your time is done, or yes, this is good, but we may need to implement a different change here for the betterment of the private citizen.
Good, thank you for that. At the end of your first term in office, 2 years, and you look back, what do you think will be the best thing that you've accomplished as the first Libertarian to serve in the General Assembly?
My biggest thing that I'm looking to bring to the House of Representatives to begin with is my ability to be able to be a bridge builder. I'm not talking about reaching across the aisle here. What I'm talking about is actually finding commonalities between multiple parties, to finding our connections, to be able to say, yes, this is what we believe in. You believe in this, so do I. And we have these root connections. Because we are able to decipher what those root connections are and actually bring the human element back into the political world, we have the ability to connect on that human level, sit down and be able to have rational, reasonable discussions over sensitive subjects, while keeping in mind, yes, we want the same thing. Yes, we want what's better for us. Let's sit down and let's reason. That's really the biggest thing that I seek to bring. Now, as for other things, certainly I have on my list that I've given you, focusing on supporting school choice, abolishing the ABC system in order to privatize the liquor industry. Just to get us caught up with the rest of the nation. Only, if I'm not mistaken, there's only 13 states that still have ABC boards or something of similar nature. This is just an archaic system that needs to go by the wayside. Focusing on the zoning laws for when it comes to private property. We as individuals should be able to make the statement of what we should do with our own private property. We are self-governing, we as the lesser magistrate, and I respect individual rights from that perspective. We need to be able to allow individuals to be able to express themselves the way that they are as individuals and respect others as they express themselves as well.
Well, great, thank you. Is there anything that you can recall in your education or your work experience, or any person that has formed your life or maybe changed your direction or given you a different insight?
Yes, actually, might seem a little bit of a padded answer on this one, but I'll try to go into a little bit of detail to explain why. And that would be my mother, Linda Travers, an amazing, amazing woman. She has lived a life that floors me when I sit down and listen to her. She was a child who grew up during the times when there was extreme civil unrest up in the 1950s. My mother was 6 years old when one time when she was put on, her and her mother, my grandmother, were on a bus, and there was a situation where a seat came open, and this nice elderly Black lady, she offered that seat to her. And then there was a gentleman, a white gentleman, this is back in the time when back in the bus, is how it was done. And there was a gentleman that said, if you're not going to take that seat, then I'm going to. My grandmother put my mother, my 6-year-old mother, directly into that woman's lap and said, my daughter is sitting with this woman. This is somebody's mother, and you should respect her. This was at a time that was something like that had the potential to get them killed. My mother has lived such an amazing life and understanding of all of these tumultuous times that we are currently going through, and her profound wisdom, with tying everything that we have experienced back during the summer of rage back in the late 60s, and the parallels that we are experiencing now. She is just, that one little thing has educated me so much, and seeing all the ties on where we are, and all of this civil unrest, and what we need to do to be able to peacefully bring about civility and understanding of who we are as a nation. I cannot give my mother more credit to and admiration for everything that she has taught me. And that's just one little thing that she's done, let alone the fact that she actually knew all of the astronauts from the NASA program. She lived on the same, she knew Buzz Aldrin. She knew Neil Armstrong. She went to school with her kids. Science fair was hell for her because they always won. But her amazing stories, I'm telling you, my mother, that is a woman who has genuinely changed my life, and I could not be more proud to be her son.
And I'm sure she's proud to have you as her son. So. Okay, now, well, we pretty much covered most of the questions that I had. In fact, you anticipated a few of them, but let me finish with this, that as a question I'm asking all the candidates, as possibly the only libertarian in the General Assembly, or at least one of a small minority, how do you hope to accomplish anything, get anything done?
That is the biggest challenge that we do face. However, I truly do believe that the time for me to step into public service, and let me stress to you, that's exactly what we are. We are servants to the public. I am a bartender. I understand this completely. It's the reason why I put my slogan as I listen, I serve. If I don't listen to my guests at my bar, I cannot serve them properly. And if I don't serve them properly, they're not going to return. And I fully understand that to step into this role, it does require a servant's heart, which I do have. Myself, as I mentioned before, the biggest thing that I bring to the table is the ability to be able to find those threads that connect us as humans. Bridge building, not talking about reaching across the aisle and compromising on our ideals, but understanding that we have a common ground for what we want for our state and our community. This is the biggest thing that I bring forth. And this is the biggest tool that I believe that is going to help bring about a better unity and better reasoning and the better ability to communicate with each other. With all the political differences that we have, we do have these common roots. We are Americans. We want what's best for our communities. We want what's best for our state. I bring a certain je ne sais quoi, for the lack of better ways of phrasing it, to be able to connect people. I do this all the time at my bar. I do this all the time at church. Shoot, I hold church at my bar and do this all the time. I honestly get more opportunities to be able to minister to people behind my bar than I ever have in ministry anywhere else. It's been wonderful. So that is the biggest thing that I look to bring. With this, I truly believe we are looking at the beginnings of a grassroots movement, of an awakening of our founding fathers, of the original concepts of what we are to be as a nation, as individuals, independent individuals, having the ability to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, not respecting the government, but knowing that we as a lesser magistrate run the government, and we will respect the laws that are respectable. And it is up to us as the lesser magistrate to dictate what those are. We start with the vote. We start at the ballot box. And I have a deep understanding of this. And the biggest thing that we can be able to do is to help. My message is to help re-educate our community on what we are. We are not citizens of the government. We are citizens of our community, and the government serves us, not the other way around.
Thank you for that, Adrian. That's all we have for this interview. If you want to find out more about Adrian, ask him a question, send him a donation, or volunteers for his campaign, you can go to adrian4nc.org. Thank you, Adrian. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much, and let's go Canes.